Hello everyone, and welcome to Wisdom and Wealth. Here, we explore the profound intersections of ancient wisdom and practical strategies for a fulfilling life. Today, we're diving into a topic that resonates deeply, especially for those of us who have navigated the complexities of life for over 4 decades, the difficult, yet often necessary, act of letting go. This video is about that quiet revolution of the heart, the moment you realize that sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is to walk away. Before we delve deeper, if you appreciate content that blends wisdom with practical advice, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us bring more meaningful content to you. In the stillness of dawn, have you ever heard that inner voice whispering a truth your heart resists acknowledging? It's a message of needing to depart, to sever ties, even with someone you deeply love. This act can feel like setting your own soul ablaze, yet it's often the purest form of self-love. Zen teachings don't advocate for clinging, they emphasize the art of graceful release. Buddhism doesn't glorify suffering, but rather illuminates its origins and the path to its end. When you choose to walk away, not out of animosity but from a place of wisdom, the universe isn't punishing you, it's purifying you. The urge to hold on stems from the illusion that the past is the only reality. But true realization dawns when you understand that truth isn't contingent on clinging. Letting go is the quiet revolution of the heart, beginning with chaos, trembling with grief, and culminating in the most profound liberation. Have you ever wondered what happens when you sever the cord connecting your soul to another? Let's embark on an inner journey to explore the invisible scars of love. Love, in its primal form, binds, clutches, attaches, and merges identities. What starts as union can often devolve into the illusion that another person can complete you. In the teachings of Zen, attachment is often mistaken for love. The tighter one holds, the more fear creeps in, fear of loss, fear of change, fear of abandonment. When someone becomes your sole source of peace, suffering lurks in the shadows. Love that morphs into pain is like a lotus trapped in mud without light, it withers. When silence replaces joy, when presence feels like absence, your spirit whispers that it's time to cut ties. Cutting someone you love means recognizing the truth that love should never be a prison, and no bond, no matter how cherished, should lead you away from your own essence. Now, before we continue on this journey of self-discovery, I'd like to remind you to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you find this content valuable. The subsequent unfolding isn't cosmic revenge, it's a necessary transformation. The first step is guilt, echoing after the decision is made. The heart doesn't celebrate, the mind screams, the soul trembles, and silence becomes unbearable. The guilt doesn't arise from wrongdoing, it stems from the illusion that enduring pain equates to loyalty. You might question your worth. Was I too weak? Did I give up too soon? Would a stronger person have stayed? Zen teachings remind us that the mind is a master illusionist, constructing memories like palaces and guarding them with emotion. It will recall the laughter, the tenderness, the early moments when everything felt perfect. But memory is selective, it forgets the coldness, the tears, the moments when you were no longer seen, when your silence went unnoticed. This guilt is part of the shedding process, and shedding always leaves raw skin. Buddha's path teaches that guilt is grasping onto the past, carrying what no longer belongs in your hands. In time, you realize that guilt is the echo of a love that is no longer alive, only remembered. Let it echo, let it fade, don't engage with it. The void that follows guilt is emptiness. Days stretch like desert landscapes. Time slows as if the clock mourns the absence of their voice. Their laughter and habits haunt the space, even your solitude feels inhabited by their shadow. But Zen reminds us that what feels empty is often full of presence. The void isn't punishment, it's space, space to see without distortion, to feel without guilt, to return to your own soul, which had been silenced by the noise of the connection. In Buddhism, this is shunyata, the sacred emptiness, not meaningless but open, not hollow but ready. You begin to sit with yourself, to breathe deeper, to observe without reacting. Slowly, you understand that you weren't lonely, you were avoiding your own company. Cutting someone you love opens a path. It hurts because it reveals how much of your identity was entangled with someone else. But what you're left with is you, and that is not nothing. This is the rebirth of boundaries. As space widens and silence deepens, a quiet strength begins to return. Boundaries that once seemed cruel now feel sacred. The door you closed begins to resemble a gate of self-respect. You no longer explain yourself or seek to be understood by the person you walked away from. And if you are finding this information to be helpful, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content. This is the real transformation. You no longer try to fix what was built on broken ground. Zen teaches non-resistance. You let life flow. You stop wishing they would call, stop hoping they would understand, stop imagining a reunion. This isn't coldness, it's acceptance. Buddhist teachings reveal that suffering arises from resistance. When you stop resisting their absence, suffering loses its grip. You begin to honor your own silence more than their validation. Boundaries aren't walls, they are rivers that guide energy. What once flooded and drowned you now flows with clarity. People often speak of karma as punishment, but karma is reflection. When you walk away from love that hurt you, you don't curse the other, you awaken them. They begin to feel the absence, not just of you but of the reflection of who they were when you loved them. Their karma isn't your revenge, it's facing their own behavior without the comfort of your forgiveness. Sometimes they grow, sometimes they blame, sometimes they pretend they don't care. None of this is your concern. Zen wisdom states, the one who walks away from fire doesn't stay to watch it burn. Your karma isn't entanglement, it's elevation. You chose growth over comfort, clarity over confusion, and peace over passion that poisoned. When you cut someone you love from your life, you give them back to their own lessons and walk into your own. In time, you stop counting the days. The face you missed becomes a distant shape, their voice, once a song, becomes background noise. You no longer feel the ache, you feel the lesson. You begin to notice the way the light enters your room in the morning, the taste of your own presence, the laughter that arises for no reason. You no longer look for them in your healing. You stop romanticizing the past and rehearsing old conversations. Zen says, when the mind no longer clings, peace is not earned, it is revealed. You return to the self you abandoned, but this self isn't the old one, it's refined by grief, polished by silence, and strengthened by solitude. This isn't recovery, it's rebirth. Consider the paradox, losing someone you loved brings gains you never imagined. First, clarity, you see the relationship for what it was, not what you wished it to be. Second, self-trust, you recognize that choosing peace wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. Third, inner freedom, you realize you can survive the loss and even thrive beyond it. Fourth, compassion, you no longer resent them, you see they were your teacher, not your jailer. Fifth, presence, you stop time traveling and begin to live in the moment. Buddhism teaches impermanence, anicca, everything changes, love fades, bonds break. But what stays is your inner path, what grows is your awareness, and what remains is your wholeness. People may never understand your choice, they may whisper, judge, or ask you to explain. But Zen warns, do not waste your breath explaining the wind. Your healing doesn't need witnesses, and your peace doesn't require applause. The love you cut was real, the pain was real, and the silence is sacred. But what happens when you cut someone you love isn't destruction, it's return, surrender, and freedom. This is the art of the silent blade. Cutting someone you love isn't an act of cruelty, it's an act of courage. It says, I choose my peace over my past, I choose my future over my familiar pain. Zen asks you to sit with the silence after the cut, and Buddhist wisdom invites you to find the still point within the chaos. You don't need them to understand, to change, or to return. What you need is the strength to remain on the path you let them go, not because love died, but because you are finally ready to live. The wound is the place where the light enters. Let it enter, let it shine, let it cleanse. This is what happens when you cut someone you love from your life. You suffer, you surrender, you awaken, and you become the teachings of silent strength. To walk away from love that once nourished your soul is to engage in an inner pilgrimage. As we reach the end of this video, I want to thank you for watching and remind you to subscribe to our channel for more insights on wisdom and wealth. This act isn't a rebellion against love itself, but against the distortion of love. It's a return to essence, a return to truth, and truth in the path of Zen doesn't scream, it breathes. In the stillness after separation, a new mirror appears. No longer do you look to someone else to see your worth, you begin to notice the forgotten self, the one that existed before the bond was formed. This self had dreams, simplicity, and clarity, but it had been covered with emotional fog. Zen invites you to look deeply, without flinching. What part of you tolerated what should have been healed? What shadow within chose to stay silent when boundaries were crossed? Not in blame, not in regret, but in compassionate reflection. Buddhist wisdom teaches that everything you attract is a reflection of your inner vibration. The love you chose mirrored your own self-image. When you outgrow your old beliefs, your old connections begin to fall away. This falling away isn't failure, it's progress. You no longer seek to be completed, you now walk as a circle, not a half. Just as the body purifies through fasting, the soul purifies through separation. When you cut someone off who once held your heart, a detox begins, not just of emotion, but of identity. You begin to see how your peace depended on their approval, how your joy depended on their attention, and how your sense of self was tethered to their affection. Zen calls this illusion Maya, a world shaped by illusion, maintained by attachment, and dissolved by truth. As you detox emotionally, withdrawal arises, tears, silence, nighttime questioning. But these are symptoms of healing, not signs of failure. In Buddhism, pain is often the sign that awakening has begun. The very fact that it hurts proves the bond mattered, but more importantly, it proves that your soul still feels, still longs for truth. The old will not leave quietly, but the new waits patiently. Before the bond, your inner voice was strong. But over time, you stopped listening, you began consulting someone else for decisions, directions, and dreams. Now, the silence invites your voice back into the room. You begin to ask yourself, what do I want? Who am I without them? What makes my soul come alive? Zen teaches that clarity comes not by adding more, but by subtracting illusion. Cutting someone off becomes the greatest subtraction. What remains is unfiltered clarity. You now hear your intuition without noise, sense red flags without denial, and prioritize peace over passion. This isn't numbness, this is wisdom. When they return to your mind, they will visit, not physically, perhaps not ever, but emotionally and mentally. Their memory, their smile, their voice, and their tenderness will float into your thoughts like perfume in an old room. Do not fight the memory, let it pass through. Zen teaches that resistance is suffering, but allowance flows. Smile if the thought warms you, breathe if the thought wounds you, but do not reattach, do not reopen the wound. Let memory be a cloud, not a chain. The heart is spacious, it can hold many memories, but it shouldn't be held hostage by any. Let them come, let them go. You remain the sky, not the weather. And finally, I would like to encourage you to subscribe to the Wisdom and Wealth channel. Some will ask, how could you walk away from someone you loved? Why didn't you try harder? Are you sure you did the right thing? Do not explain, do not justify, and do not invite doubt back into your temple. Zen says those who have not walked your path cannot understand your silence. Buddhist teachings emphasize the concept of right action. It isn't judged by others' approval but by inner alignment. You didn't walk away in hate, you walked away in truth. They don't need to understand, and you don't need to explain. Your silence is your sanctuary now. Let those who judge remain outside its gate. When you release someone you once loved, your life may feel bare, as if the landscape lost its color. But remember, nature abhors a vacuum. What is emptied will soon be filled, but this time, the filling happens from within. You begin to read what your soul truly enjoys. You walk slower, you sip tea in silence, you listen to the birds, and you rediscover friendships that nurture rather than drain. You may meet someone new, but this time, not to escape loneliness, but to share stillness. Zen monks often spend years in solitude, not as punishment, but to clear the false self. When you cut a loved one from your life, your solitude isn't exile, it's cleansing. As emptiness deepens, fulfillment returns, not from others, but from the overflowing of your own center. Perhaps one day you cross paths again, a glance, a message, a call. What will you feel? Not rage, not love, but peace. Zen mastery is known by how still the heart remains when the past returns. You smile, you nod, you send them blessings within, but you do not reopen the closed door. That chapter taught you, and that chapter passed. You walk on, not away, but forward. Zen saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water, after enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. You still live, you still breathe, but now your actions come from awareness, not emotion. Eventually, you forgive them, not because they asked, not because they changed, but because your soul becomes too light to carry resentment. Buddha taught, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other to die. You let go, not for them, but for your own liberation. You see their flaws with compassion, you see your old self with tenderness, and you forgive both, not to reconnect, not to reconcile, but to release. Forgiveness becomes the final cut, the one that severs all lingering karmic threads. From that moment, you are free. After the silence, after the grief, after the healing, what remains is you, still wise and whole. You walked through the fire and came out with ash on your feet and stars in your eyes. You proved to yourself that love can be honored even as you walk away from it. You learned that the person you had to save was never them, it was you. Zen doesn't reward sacrifice, it honors alignment. Buddhism doesn't require detachment from love, but detachment from suffering disguised as love. What remains isn't regret, what remains is reverence for the journey, for the courage, and for the peace that followed the path of no return. Finally, please like the video if you have found it to be helpful and subscribe to this channel for more wisdom that enhances your life and expands your perspective. When you cut someone you love from your life, you don't erase the past, you bless it. You don't curse them, you bow to the lessons. You don't close your heart, you protect its sacredness. You continue walking, not with emptiness, but with quiet fullness. And if ever your heart longs again, let it be for truth, not illusion, for presence, not distraction, for peace, not pain. Cutting them wasn't the end, it was your beginning. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Just click the subscribe button below and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Also, feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you'd like to see next. See you in the next video.